Coming up tonight on Primetime Local News, the Aztec Safety Challenge wrapped up over the weekend. Plus, we find out more about the Rotary Employment Partnership and this week's edition of Retrospect.
Frisbee. Good. Yeah.
Primetime Local News, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Hello and welcome to Primetime Local News. I'm Lane Hoffert. Lloydminster RCMP have made an arrest in connection with fraud involving the local Minor Hockey Association. Police have charged 42-year-old Aaron Troy Foster from Lloydminster with fraud and theft over $5,000, along with criminal breach of trust and false pretense. RCMP say more than $300,000 was embezzled from the association through fraud and theft over a 5-year period. Foster was taken before a justice of the peace and released with conditions. He returns to court January 28th. Jack Kemp Community School held their Land-Based Culture Day today, which included many activities. Our Jackson Fontaine has more on the day.
Go!
The sounds of screaming and happiness filled the air outside Jack Kemp School as students got to participate in all sorts of fun outdoor and indoor games. Most of the activities were put on by grade 8 students from Bishop Lloyd.
So today our students are over here at Jack Kemp and we are running programming for the school in a variety of different land-based challenges. There's games and there's learning about hides and pelts and trapping and smoking meat and hide tanning and cooking over a fire and snowshoeing and lots of different activities.
Other activities included making a bird feeder and also kick sledding. The opportunity to help younger students was not something the grade 8s were going to miss out on.
I really enjoy teaching the younger students about what they could join later on in their lives, how not everything has to be entirely school education based, and it can also be outdoors and having fun with it as well. That's what I particularly enjoyed about this.
The games not only gave students from Jack Kemp a break from in-class learning, it also provided the grade 8 students with a sense of leadership.
I hope that our students are able to gain some confidence in their leadership skills and in their ability to do these good things, and hopefully we can continue doing these.
Jackson Fontaine, Primetime Local News.
The Rotary Club of Lloydminster held their weekly meeting today. This week's topic of discussion was the Rotary Employment Program. The Rotary Employment Program helps employers get connected with Inclusion Alberta or Inclusion Lloydminster. Rotarian Ashley Jarvis says that the program gives people living with intellectual disabilities a chance to work and form relationships.
When you have a community that supports individuals with any kind of a disability, it compounds across our whole city. So it's a net positive no matter where you are. It creates a really good environment for your business, and it gives great quality of life for the people that you're employing.
One employer who has hired people through Inclusion Alberta and the Rotary Employment Program is Ashkay Naik of Quiznos and Domino's Pizza in Lloyd. His employees say that they are thankful for their jobs as it gives them the opportunity to do what they love.
So we hired 2 people, one at Quiznos, his name is Kenneth, and Roxanne at Domino's.
Actually, I love it because I get to do everything that I wanted to do, moving around.
Any employers interested in helping someone with an intellectual disability start their career is encouraged to reach out to the Rotary Club of Lloydminster, Inclusion Alberta, or Inclusion Lloydminster. It's time now for this week's episode of Retrospect. Here's Brandon Riddell.
This week on Retrospect, we travel to 1988 to see people return pets that they got for Christmas.
See this cute face? Well, it's hard to keep behind bars this time of year, especially when someone you know might really like a pet. That's a common thought at Christmas. In Lloydminster's shelter, the adoption rate increases by 30% in December. Unfortunately, 1 in 3 Christmas pets ends up back behind bars a few months later, when the receiver realizes the pet wasn't really wanted. It's sad for shelter manager Don Notto when that happens.
Like a small pup or a small kitten has a higher than average chance in here because they're cute and fluffy. And when they come back at about 6 months of age, their chances are really a lot lower than they were before. So probably most of them end up getting put to sleep.
That doesn't mean the SPCA wouldn't like to see these animals find homes, although Notto warns that the giver should find out if the receiver is prepared for the responsibility.
Pets are not like a toy or a gadget that you can, play with and then put away when you're finished with it. They're a big commitment. You're looking at probably $400 a year to feed them. Probably, if you're lucky, $50 for veterinary bills.
If you want to give a pet, let the person you're giving it to pick it out. Then pet and pet owner are guaranteed to have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Blaine Ostapovich, Broadcast Center News.
We jump forward to 2004 to see a theater group teach kids through action learning.
From kindergarten to grade 9, students at 4 Wing Cold Lake have welcomed members of Trickster into their classrooms. The theater group uses action learning to develop a theme chosen by the school. At R.A. Reynolds, the kids are learning about respect and responsibility.
We just thought it was something that, people need to be respectful, they need to be responsible. So we chose that one as something to kind of incorporate.
We're doing some dances and stuff like that about cycling. And there's kind of like a little story that goes with all the dances.
Because most kids don't have responsibilities about the environment and how they need to help it.
Students, staff, and parent volunteers are all contributing to create a 90-minute performance, something the kids are extremely excited about.
It was very fun. I like Trickster. It's my first time being a show.
But even more than the fun and games, organizers say the experience of this week's activities is something students will build on.
I would say that the best thing that they can learn is A, an ability to work together in a way that they didn't know was possible. B, creativity for creativity's sake.
I just think things like this, they remember them all their lives, and it's a really positive part of education for them.
And now, our traditional goodbye. See ya! Wouldn't want to be ya!
In Cold Lake, Linda Wilcox, NewsHour.
And that's all for Retrospect.
Retrospect is brought to you by Webb's Machinery. Find New Holland products at Webb's Machinery, your dealer in Vermilion, Vegreville, Lamont, Wainwright, St. Paul, and Consort.
I'm joined now with Thomas Wildman, who's going to give us our first look at the weather. So we're kind of in a warm stretch in January right now. Why don't you just tell me a little bit about that?
Well, it's very nice to see, and I don't know, maybe we're having a bit of a Chinook coming through right now that we're getting these nice temperatures. I think it's a little bit of just the sun's finally come out and we're not having those heavy winds and that snowfall that we had earlier this month. So I think that's certainly a major part in that, but we're going to see it survive for the next 2 days. However, on Thursday, we're expecting a bit more snow. It's going to get a little bit cooler as well there. It's not going to get quite under, it's going to get down to the negatives for a bit there as well, but not going to be going much, not at least not to those minus 20 lows that we had been feeling early on here in January. Today, our high was a high of -5, with that low at -7. Quite a bit normal, better than the usual normals of a high of -9 and a low of -20. A little bit of, we are at 1.0 millimeters of rain or precipitation so far. We're expecting about 19 for this month. We'll see if we hit that. We did hit it in December, and that's very much appreciated for all of our farming friends from on both the Alberta and Saskatchewan side. Current conditions, we're at -8 with the wind chill. It's feeling like -13 with that south wind hitting us. It's definitely a little bit humid out there from the last little bit of rain and snow that we experienced over this past weekend. North Battleford, very similar, a little bit cooler at -13 with their wind chill down to -19. They're getting a southeast wind hitting them right now pretty heavily. And then Cold Lake's a tad bit warmer, -9 to wind chill. They're down at -13, very similar to us here in the border city. Taking a look at the current temperatures across the region, we got a bit of a mixture here. As you get further out west, it's getting quite a bit warmer, as we're at -7 here, as mentioned, as is our friends out at Marwayne. But then you get to Vermilion, it's -3, Wainwright's -2, Provost at -5, Bonnyville is -6 with St. Paul -2, and then Cold Lake a little bit chillier at -9. Lac La Biche, nice and warm, relatively anyway, at -1. Vegreville up to 0, and then Edmonton, nice and warm at 4 degrees right now. Taking a look at the Saskatchewan side, they're quite a bit cooler, feeling that south wind hitting them really hard right now. Isle Cross at -12, -7 for Pearceland, -9 for Green Lake, -8 for Meadow Lake, -10 in St. Walburg, as well as in Maidstone. Macklin also at that -7 mark, and then North Battleford all the way down at -12 as well. Taking a look at tonight's forecast in North Battleford, they're going to have a low of -12, and it's going to be mainly clear. 25% chance of precipitation. They're likely not going to feel any of that. With the wind chill, it will be quite a bit cooler than that low of -12, though. Similar in Cold Lake, low of -11. It will be clear to partly cloudy, and 3% chance of precipitation. Likely not going to be feeling any of that. A west wind hitting them. And here in the border city, we're going to be nice and breezy, but it will be clear, so no major clouds in the area. No 1% chance of precipitation, so likely won't be anything low of -7. That wind, though, certainly living up to the Windy City name of Lloydminster, it will be quite chilly with that wind tonight. But happy days ahead, a high of +4 for Tuesday and Wednesday. A little bit cooler on Wednesday with a low of -1. It will be breezy on Tuesday in the afternoon, though, unfortunately, and then cloudy and windy on Wednesday. And then Thursday, we're expecting a bit of a morning, so 55% chance. Still will be decently warm, though, at a high of 0 and a low of -13. But certainly some nice things to look forward to coming up. I will have another look at the weather forecast later on in the show, but for now, we will have some more news headlines.
The Aztec Safety Challenge was once again a world-class event with an exciting finish. Our Thomas Wildman has a wrap on the weekend and who came home with the $35,000 purse.
It was an exciting championship Saturday at the Aztec Safety Challenge with only 4 teams remaining. Bruce Moat of Scotland took on Mike McEwen of Saskatoon. It was a close back-and-forth game, but a big 3-ender for McEwen in the 6th end set him up for the win. On the other sheet, world champion Nicholas Edin of Sweden was up against Matt Dunstone from Winnipeg. A great game that came down to extra ends, but Dunstone snuck away with a 7-6 victory. That set up the all-Canadian final between Team McEwen and Team Dunstone. A back-and-forth game to begin, but a crucial miss for McEwen resulted in a steal of 4 for Dunstone in the 4th. And Dunstone would grab a double in the 6th, and that would be all as McEwen would concede in the 7th end, crowning Matt Dunstone, Colton Lott, and EJ and Ryan Harden as the champions of the 2025 Aztec Safety Challenge, taking home $35,000.
Last year we didn't qualify for the playoffs, so wanted to have a bit better showing this time around. Obviously did that, and anytime you can win an event in a field like this, there was 9 of the top 10 teams in the world here, pretty incredible. So, feels really good. Hope to just carry some momentum here moving forward.
The organizers are also happy with how the event went and are looking for ways to make next year's event even better.
The organizing committee doesn't want it to be the same old, so we're always trying to make it better. Will we move to the bigger facility, Synovus Hub? Will we stay here and enhance some things? We'll be doing a debrief here in 6 weeks. We'll figure that out. We'll be sitting down with the city, who's a great partner, and all of our corporate partners, plus the Grand Slam of curling, plus the players, and see how we can make this the very best, probably in the same time slot.
And that concludes the second Aztec Safety Challenge. It once again truly rocked the border city. For Primetime Local News, I'm Thomas Wildman.
January marks Mentoring Month for Big Brothers Big Sisters. Abby St. John spoke with Jacqueline Weed to learn more on the benefits of mentoring and how to apply.
I'm very happy to be joined here today by Jacqueline Weed with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Lloydminster. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks.
Now, January is a very fun month for you guys. It is mentoring month. And if anybody in this community is interested or thought about becoming a mentor, this month is definitely the perfect time to look into it, as Big Brothers Big Sisters here in Lloydminster has 31 children ready to be matched with their mentors. So tell me a little bit about what it means to be a mentor for Big Brothers Big Sisters and what it entails.
So being a mentor with Big Brothers Big Sisters means just spending time with a child in our communities, one of the ones on our wait list, and having fun, doing things that interest both of you, and just, being their special person. It's super easy. To get involved as a mentor, you just really need to reach out to the agency, and we'll have a discussion around kind of what your time commitment is, like, what are you available for, and then we'll find the right program for you, and we'll start the process. There is an application and screening process, just because we are matching you with children, but it's very painless. And we learn a lot about you, and you learn a lot about us through the process, and then we find you someone who's a good fit.
That's fantastic, and it sounds like a lot of fun too, and quite flexible. If you don't have a ton of time to give, but you do want to give that time, that's amazing. Now, is there any restrictions or requirements to be a mentor, age requirements, or anything like that that would kind of hinder somebody to be a mentor?
So to be a big brother or a big sister, you need to be 18. Just because you can take them, out and do things with them, and, go out in public with them and that sort of thing. So there is that requirement. Our in-school mentor program could be teens, because you are supervised at the school. So, but other than that, there's no upper age limit. And really, yeah, just that 18 or over, a family could do mentoring as well. So yeah, no age requirements, no special skills required, just wanting to have fun and spend time with a child.
Wonderful. And I like that. I'm glad that you mentioned this in-school mentoring as well. Kind of touch on that. If there's any teenagers or high school students who are interested in your school programs, what does that entail, and how can they get involved in that way?
Yeah, so in-school mentoring is an hour a week. So during the school day and during the school year. So they'd be matched with the same child at a school, and they just go hang out with them for that hour. So they might have a spare, or, an extended lunch hour. So we'd match them up. They could get volunteer hours. It looks great on their resume, but more importantly, they get to have fun during the day, doing things with a child.
Yes, that sounds amazing, and something that would be a lot of fun for high school students if, like you said, they're looking for those volunteer hours. That's a fantastic way to help a kid out, spend time with them, and then also covering their requirement as well. So now finally, if anybody, whether it's the school program or in a mentor, big brother, big sister in general, how can they do the application, or where can they find the application, and what is the process like?
So they can inquire on our website, where you can get more information about the programs, or they can message our Facebook page, or give me a call at the office, or any one of us a call at the office, and we can figure out what they need, and they can either pick up the application, or we can send it out to them.
Wonderful. Well, hopefully this gets some traction and you're able to match those kids who are waiting for their mentor very soon. So thank you again for joining me. It's always great talking to you and getting the word out.
Awesome, thanks.
Now let's take a look at your pets of the day.
We want to see your pets. Send photos of your pet and their name to have them featured on Pet of the Day.
A Canadian author now living in the United States has written a book that took her many years to get published. Stacey Comer finds out more about her journey and what is planned for further novels.
I have a guest author joining me today on Primetime Local News. Luce Sutherland is here, and we're going to be chatting about the book Delicious Surrender. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Stacey. It's an absolute pleasure.
Well, I took a look at the book and the contents, and we're going to have to keep this G-rated a little bit for the news. But can you tell me a little bit about the plot of this book? Because I saw that it was described as a steamy, grumpy sunshine romance. So that is a very interesting description. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that?
It is. It is steamy, grumpy in that you've got two characters. One is more sunshiny, happy-go-lucky, and the other, the male protagonist, is definitely aloof, very, very arrogant at times, difficult to reach. And the two of them together is a little bit interesting as far as friction and chemistry that they would like to deny. The plot of the story is that my lead character, Bryn, is an aspiring author. Her agent has rejected her manuscript and told her it's just not spicy enough. And she's stuck being able to make it more realistic without adventuring into a different place to get some firsthand experience.
Well, should we be thinking 50 Shades of Grey with this, or is it a little bit more advanced than that?
No, it's right in line with 50 Shades of Grey. I definitely was a fan of E.L. James books, and it is similar in that it's probably the same on the spicy scale. It's very similar.
Right. And is this going to be a series? Are you looking at making these ongoing characters?
It is going to be a series, but each book will stand alone on its own. So the two characters in Delicious Surrender, their story finishes with a happy ever after. And then the next book will be about another friend of the male character. Three gentlemen went to university together, and the stories are linked with those. So I have three in mind, and maybe even a fourth in the series, but people can read them without a cliffhanger or anything of that sort.
So where did the inspiration come for this, and why did you decide to write in this genre?
Well, the inspiration, I have been writing on and off for probably over 20 years, just not willing to share it with anybody. And I do think that when 50 Shades hit bookstores and Kindles, that opened up the world to these genres. It was more acceptable. You didn't need to go to the bookstore and sneak in and find an erotic novel and take it to the counter. Now you can do it quietly and silently and read anywhere, and no one knows what you're reading. So I had always been a fan from my late 20s, various heat levels of romance novels. And I just decided, in fact, during COVID, that I had time on my hands. I had isolation, and it became something that I had talked about and finally put into action. And
is the setting? Do you set it in some exotic locales, or is it? I know that you live in Florida, and you are, excuse me, you were Canadian, so you have the experience in both countries. But did you decide on a setting, or did you make up a place for a setting?
I actually, it starts in London in the UK, and half the book is in the Isle of Skye. I have a deep love of Scotland. It is in my family history, and I visited a number of times. And so my lead male character is Scottish, and he's based in London. I did want to do something exotic and different from Canada or the US. Book 2 will be US based, and probably 3 will too. But yeah, London, beautiful city, and then Scotland.
Well, I guess that's a nice thing about writing too, is you can set these wherever you want, and you can make the characters whoever you want them to be. So I think it's for someone who doesn't write like books like you do. I write every day with stories, obviously, for news, but to actually put a full book together, I can't imagine how much work goes into that. How much time did it take you to get this together?
I could not imagine what it took either. When I embarked on the project, I really had no idea. And I had a kernel of an idea, but I took it back to square one. I started learning the process. I downloaded a million instructional webinars and followed a process. It took me a year to write, I did have a full-time job at that time. It took me a year to edit. And then I started the process of looking for an agent to get published. And I fiddled around in that process for probably a good 8 months until I finally decided this isn't happening. I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to self-publish. And that process, I dove into that blind. It's incredible the amount of stuff I've learned having gone through this, but internal formatting, cover formatting, editing, professional editing, so that you're not putting a book out there with typos and such. And you've got a professional eye who's gone through it with a fine-tooth comb. So that's why we are, let's see, 4.5, 5 years from COVID, and I have a book in my hand. So
Well, that was quite a process, but congratulations for sticking with it, because, some people would have given up along the way, having to go all, through all of that as well. So, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining me today. And if people are looking to pick up this book, where can they find it now?
So it releases for full publication next Friday, the 17th of January. It will be on Amazon.ca.com, all over the world. And in paperback, you can order a Kindle version. It's part of the Kindle Unlimited subscription process as well. And paperback, I'm working on that to get it into bookstores, Canadian and US bookstores. I'm not sure if you can get it by Friday in a bookstore. It's probably a little too far in advance, but yeah.
Okay. Well, once again, the book is called Delicious Surrender, and the author is Luce Sutherland. Luce, thank you so much for joining me, and we look forward to seeing this and then the rest of them coming out in the series as well. So good luck with that as well.
Thank you, Stacy. Much appreciated. Have a great day.
Coming up after the break, Thomas Wildman will give us another look at our evening weather.
All right, we're going to take a quick last look at the weather here. Lloydminster still at that -7 mark for today, -9 up in Cold Lake. We go a little bit further out west in Alberta. Edmonton's at +4, Athabasca's at +2, and then Whitecourt also at that +4 mark. Red Deer at 5, Rocky Mountain House at 7, Edson at 6, and then Jasper a little bit cooler at 1 degree. On the Saskatchewan side, it's quite a bit cooler in certain parts of the province, especially way out east in Prince Albert and Melfort, -20, -23 for them. North Battleford at -12, Saskatoon a little cooler at -14, and then Meadow Lake at -8. Taking a look at the Saskatchewan side down south, Yorkton plenty cold as well at -25, Regina at -22, Estevan at -24, but further west you get a little bit warmer at -14, -8 for Moose Jaw. Swift Current is at -8 and Kindersley at -9. On the Alberta side, quite a bit warmer, -2 for Medicine Hat and Coronation and Banff, and then +2 in Lethbridge, and then +5 in Calgary. Taking a look at tomorrow's forecast here in the border city, we've got a nice evening ahead for tomorrow with 6 a.m., though it's going to be a little bit cooler at -5, nice and clear. It will get cloudy at noon, down up at -4. Then as we get further on into the day, it'll get up to +3 at 6 p.m., and that'll stick around until midnight, still at +3 with some partly cloudy there. Taking a look elsewhere, North Battleford is going to have a high of 0 tomorrow. They will have a little bit of sun, but then some increasing clouds and very low chance of precipitation there. Be careful of that wind, though, if you're out in Saskatchewan tomorrow. Cold Lake, a high of +3. Mostly cloudy, a little bit of a southwest wind hitting them as well. So will be a nice enough day out in Cold Lake, but it might be a little bit chillier. Taking a look across the region for tomorrow, similar temperatures, +3 in Meadow Lake, as well as Provost and Howard Cross, and then a little bit cooler at Paradise Hill, +2 for the high, and then Bonnyville, a little warmer at +4. And finally, taking a look at the 7-day forecast, we're going to expect a little bit more snow on Friday, as well as those temperatures really taking a dip, -12. A little bit of that morning snow, as mentioned, -24 for the low there. And then on Saturday, it's going to get down to a high of -20, a low of -30, and that will continue on into Sunday with a high of -22 and a low of -30. And then next Monday, we're possibly going to be seeing some flurries. It will warm up a bit, but this weekend, certainly be ready to be bundled up because, yeah, those aren't exactly the best temperatures you're looking for.
Sounds like the Great Prairie winter zigzag continues. We got some warm temperatures and then back to the cold. That's all the time we have today for Primetime Local News. Thanks for joining us.